We're going to call Budget and Finance Committee meeting to order. All committee members are present except for Councilman Freeman and Councilman Hope. Can we get a motion to approve the minutes from our previously held meeting? So moved. Second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. The ayes have it. We have three pieces before us. Item number 1, ordinance authorizing the purchasing agent to enter into a contract after publicly advertising for proposals for the purchase of real and personal property insurance and boiler insurance for all city properties to cover the period of March 1, 2018 to March 1, 2023, approving specifications, therefore, and declaring an emergency.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is our 5-year legislation for our real and personal property insurance. So all of the properties that the city owns, any insurance that we would have, any claims that we would file for damage to those properties. We are on a 5-year cycle which expires in March of 2018. So we're passing our legislation now so that we can go out and do an RFP process to bid that insurance out.
Okay, very good. Do we have any questions from any of the committee members? Councilwoman Mobian?
Who's currently providing that coverage?
Currently, there's a company called Affiliated FM that is the underwriter for our current policy.
And they weren't smart enough to give us a 10-year contract?
It's just sort of our process that we typically do a 5-year rotation on that.
But so they could come back. Have they been good?
They've been very good. Yeah. They could come back with a good price. But again, we put it out every 5 years just to check prices.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions from any other committee members or council members? Councilman Neal?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a general question. I know one will be looking at more intently in every area where there's an opportunity for companies to do business with the city. These insurance companies, are any of them, have any minority firms ever requested opportunity to bid, or have we ever given any an opportunity to bid for something like this?
No, to the best of my knowledge, they've never applied for this market.
Okay. Well, maybe it's something where we need to work with the administration just to make sure that they know that there's an opportunity.
I mean, we actually have an insurance consultant that shops this for us. We'll, let him know that that's an interest of ours. But again, they need to be rated at a certain level.
Understood.
Okay, and of a certain size.
Understood.
Okay.
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 Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you so much, Councilman Neal. Any other questions? If not, is consent okay? Are we on a time constraint?
Consent should be fine.
Okay. Can we get a motion for consent? So moved. We have a motion and we have a second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. The ayes have it. Any opposed? No. Okay. Moving on to item number 2, ordinance authorizing the purchasing agent to enter into a contract without the formality of advertising for bids for the purchase of support and hardware maintenance for uninterruptible power supplies in 3 city data centers from Wadsworth Solutions, approving specifications, therefore, and declaring an emergency.
Thank you, Madam Chair. These are power supplies that would kick in the event of a power failure, such as we have in City Hall when there's a power failure, so that your servers stay up and running during a power loss event. And we're in need of replacing 3 of these.
Very good. Any questions from any committee members? If not, we'll open up to any other council members. All right, no questions. Is consent okay?
Yes.
Can we get a motion for consent?
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Moving on to item number 3. Ordinance authorizing the mayor or his designees to apply for and accept, if awarded, funding from the Bloomberg Philanthropies 2017 Mayor's Challenge Grant Program and declaring an emergency.
Good afternoon. Again, this is the 2017 Mayor's Challenge Grant, which is supported by Bloomberg Philanthropies. The Mayor's Challenge was created to help city leaders think big, be bold, and uncover new or unexpected ideas that tackle today's most urgent problems. Successful ideas might reimagine or drastically improve how cities deliver their services, create efficiencies, or improve citizen engagement. This particular grant, we actually partnered with the United Way of Summit County and Akron Public Schools to implement something called Orbit Akron, which is basically a holistic approach on wrapping quality resources around families to stabilize, empower, and better prepare our city for the modern economy. A lot of this has to do with fully utilizing our CLCs that exist in the city today. The City of Akron is applying for approximately $100,000 from the Bloomberg Mayor's Challenge to conduct a pilot implementation of this proposed grant. If we receive this $1,000 grant, we will become finalists and will be in contention to receive one of 5 large awards, which would provide millions to fully implement and bring this project to scale. I have with me Seth Kuyat from the United Way of Summit County, as well as Carla Sibley from Akron Public Schools to help answer any questions.
Okay, perfect. And I don't know if Carla or if our representative from United Way want to share anything about the program before we open up for questions.
Yeah, thank you. We've been working with Akron Public Schools in the city for about a year now in discussing what this could look like, but ultimately it's how do we better utilize the community learning centers. There's about 1,200 partners who use those year-round already, and this is an attempt to really work with neighborhood residents on what services they are looking to receive out of their local CLC, and then working with partners on coordinating those services to those families. So it's not from scratch, it's really kind of a phase 2 of how do we better coordinate those services and reach out to the residents to figure out what they want to see out of their local CLCs.
And we chose the Bookdale Cluster Schools for a number of reasons. It is a resource-rich community. There are also the opportunities to build on what currently exists in schools in the way of liaisons who support family and community engagement, and a system that might coordinate what already exists in that community would be welcomed.
Okay, thank you so much. Do we have any questions from committee members? Councilwoman Amobian?
Is this something that would be kind of mesh well with Ujima and what they are doing in that community in particular?
Part of our early conversations had to do with what kinds of conversations have already taken place around the needs of that community. We know that Project Ujima has done quite a bit of work in the past 5 or so years to engage residents around what they see as the needs for that community. And in the Bookdale community, it was economic empowerment, health and wellness, and accessing our community learning centers to the full extent that we can use them. So we think that this is a good match, a good marriage with what already exists and what we've learned from our community residents.
Sure. One other question, Madam Chair. Did I hear you say that this could lead to millions of dollars?
Again, this is through Bloomberg Philanthropies, former Mayor Mike Bloomberg of New York. This is one of basically his grants. It basically any city over that basically maintains a population of over 30,000 people was eligible to apply. So I'm sure they received thousands of applications. Of those applications, 35 will be chosen for a pilot implementation that would begin in March. And Ms. Sibley was basically telling you about the pilot implementation would take place within the Bookdale CLCs. But of those 35, 4 cities will be chosen to receive $1 million to fully implement their idea and bring it to scale. There will be 1 grand prize awarded of $5 million.
So the 100,000 is just a teaser for us to get on track and do the hard work and prove that we can do this.
Exactly.
And they will be eligible for $1 million or $5 million. That sounds interesting. Is there something else we need to be doing to
once
help
the
out?
legislation is passed, again, we've already conducted a work plan, a budget for the pilot implementation if we're able to move forward and become one of the 35 champion cities. So right now, I think we've taken the necessary steps to start.
So what kind of outcomes are we looking to show that we are prepared to take this to the next level?
We had to submit a number of short-term outcomes. Some of the student outcomes are related to GPA, attendance, absenteeism. Some of the family outcomes, let's see, families are getting immediate needs met more quickly. I'm sure that'll be some type of like a pre and post test. We're looking at, let me see here, our students graduating college and career ready, decrease in unemployment rates, decrease in the working poor, the ALICE population. These are some of the longer term outcomes, equitable playing field for all races, and a diminished opportunity gap. The short term outcomes are clearly going to be student-led and meeting immediate needs. So working with families in those neighborhoods to identify what are the barriers, not only to their child's education, but the education or the employment attainment that the families want to see. That'll include basic needs assistance, health and wellness screenings, with the ultimate goal of the services being provided on site, so that we're not just referring clients out, but we're actually working with residents within their own local CLC.
Is this part of the financial literacy thing that we approved recently? No?
It's not a part of that, but that is an example of how we could utilize those services in those CLCs.
So this is the other bold goal that was announced.
Yeah, this would be more related to the early childhood, third grade reading, and then college and career attainment, but also looking at the education of the child from a community perspective and knowing that there's several barriers that are mostly limiting that child's ability to learn on grade level.
And if I can, in addition to the school-related outcomes, I think we would also hope to see movement in some of the larger community issues. So access to quality health care, reducing the infant mortality rate, reduction in youth violence and crime. So I believe that we would also be interested in looking at whether we're moving the needle on some of the bigger issues in the community.
Thank you very much.
Very good. Any other questions? Councilman Neal?
Thank you, Madam Chair. First, let me say thank you for selecting the book to community. I would love to, when the time is appropriate, share with you, and I know Ms. Sibley's aware of a lot of the things that are in place so that the wheel doesn't have to be recreated, so that the proper folks are there. This falls in line with one of the things we were happy to do last year with the University of Akron, which was create Saturday School Leadership Academy. And if you're familiar with Project Ujima, we believe in educating everyone throughout the whole entire life cycle. So the goal is, a lot of times when people think of Saturday school, they think of remediation and for children. We're talking about educating folks from the cradle to the grave. So it's right on point. And I've always been interested in learning more about the bold goal under that, is it called ALICE? Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. Because as we've been talking here, understanding, the challenges that most of our city has with the median income being about $34,000, $35,000. In the black community, it's lower, and amongst our seniors, of course, it's lower. We strive to do things that we can here to assist in any kind of way, but I think council as a whole has been looking at how we can assist with the CLCs. We understand that's outside of this CSO project, that's this community's legacy, the future generations. And we've been working, I know Mr. York has been looking for us to see if we can get that blanket insurance policy to make it easier for groups to get in there as well. So again, I want to say thank you. Look forward, again, when the time is right, to connect you with some of the folks, the University of Akron, and it was Dr. Ransom, but now Jolene, and the folks that are working with us there. And of course, you know about Project Ujima, so thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
You're welcome. Any other questions? Councilwoman Sims?
Just curious, as we look at some of the financial literacy people, particularly since we're targeting the book to CLC area, there are a number of organizations, one that come to mind that I actually connected to APS, Moving Beyond Hope, that is doing financial literacy and I think doing that very well with families. Are we planning to incorporate them as a part of this? Or I think what I hate to see us do is to lose a valuable resource that's already there. That's kind of like doing the work when there's no resources. do we have in mind to pull them in, that they are part of what we're creating there in that cluster? I hope that is that.
Yeah, when you look at the plan, regardless of if we get the Bloomberg grant or not, we want to move forward with this type of work. And the goal is to coordinate the existing partners in those neighborhoods that are already serving and assist in whatever way, not just through coordination, but if there's a way to create, tracking systems or some type of, client networking tools. But yeah, the ultimate goal is to not recreate programs that are already being implemented. This isn't a pay-to-play model. No one needs to bring resources to the table in order to have clients. They just have to be willing to do some direct service work out of the CLCs so that we can eliminate that transportation barrier for families.
Yeah, I think because one of the challenges, as you probably are aware, that makes communities very tentative is that when the resource runs out, so does the people. And so when you have people who are already doing the work there, that already have those relationships, it's very critical, I think, to softening the entry and assuring the people that are investing the time to be a part of it, that they're going to be in it in the long haul.
That's absolutely right.
Thank you.
Really the building of that trust, and it's one of the reasons why we want to leverage the existing family liaison program that APS already has in existence, because many of those liaisons have that level of trust in that neighborhood. Yeah.
Very good. Councilman Neal?
Thank you, Madam Chair. One more thing came to mind, and I'm not sure if Ms. Sampson will remember this, but back when it was the Byrne grant, a few years back,
Through public safety.
we were working on, there was a piece that came out of that legislation that was actually passed by this council, which was a Neighborhood Mobile Resource Center, which was to take all of these assets out into the community, because a lot of us think, well, let's just meet at the Community Learning Resource Center, which is great, we should. But the reality of it is, those of us that say that either live close or we have a car. And as we become more sensitive to being equitable in everything that we do, a lot of people don't have that. They can live right up there in the wood area, Hillwood, Wildwood, and if we have it at Schumacher CLC, that's a hump for folks to get to. So if we can keep in mind, and I love the part that you said, man, if we don't get the dollars, this is still our plan, because one of the things that really I had to scratch my head on, we would always come up with these grand plans when there was money available. And as soon as we wouldn't get the money, the plan would go. So this lets me know the conviction. I appreciate that. But the point I want to make is, let's keep in mind that Neighborhood Mobile Resource Center legislation that was passed some 4, almost 5 years ago now by this council. It's a tool that will allow us to take the resources to parts of the community that may not be able to get to a CLC. So thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, very good. Very good questions and comments. So I want to thank you. This is exciting news for West Akron. Do we want to see if we're about getting this passed tonight? Are we under a deadline for the application, or is consent okay?
Consent is fine.
Okay, very good. Can we get a motion for consent? Second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the ayes have it. If there's nothing else coming before the committee, we will adjourn.
Thank you.
Thank you.